Welcome, everybody, to the Gate Expectations podcast, where I bring in a weekly guest, talk all things Yu-Gi-Oh, and get to know a little more about each person I talk to. This is the only Yu-Gi-Oh podcast that is run by a full-fledged journalist, such as myself. This is episode 15. If you haven't checked it out yet, you can check out earlier podcasts with guests like Stephen Trifanowski, Jesse Cotton, Team Samurai X1, Doug Zeef, Cody Angeloff, Farfa, and many more. My guest for this week is one of the biggest names throughout Yu-Gi-Oh history. He's a Shonen Jump champion, multiple SJC and YCS topper, and is the older brother of one of the most famous sibling duos of Yu-Gi-Oh! It's my good friend, Dale Bellido. Dale, finally, nice to have you on the show, my brother.
Thank you for having me. It's been a long time coming, for sure.
Yeah, it definitely has, man. Like, you're like one of the names that definitely popped out. Like, when I wanted to start this, I'm like, eventually, man, I got to get Dale on. And finally, we were able to find some time because I know both of our lives have been fairly busy, so it was hard to arrange something. But thanks again for finally getting on with me.
I definitely wanted to be on more than you were looking for me to be on. So.
Well, I'm glad the feeling is mutual, at least on that part, man.
Yes.
So I know you've been like a big mainstay for the game for a very long time. Like even when I started playing, and then I started going to Toronto to play events, I was still relatively like green in the game, and like you were still like, you know, a seasoned pro at that point in time, and then we just kind of like see each other as like events go on and on and on. But you know, lately I haven't seen you play a whole lot. Have you been following the game at all as of late?
I don't know how the game is played right now, but I do follow the events.
Mm-hmm.
I like to see the kids that I refer to from when I was playing start to do well and make a name and solidify themselves in Yu-Gi-Oh legend.
Yeah, because you and I have seen like Jesse Cotton, for example. Like he was always been like a player that's always played in Toronto. We've seen him since like when he was like young in elementary school and whatnot. I think, and that's like
I knew Jesse. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. That's all.
Yeah, I knew Jesse when he was like, I want to say like 8 years old,
mm-hmm.
8 or 7, and he was playing at Card Masters, and just already beating people. I'm pretty sure he might have beat me when he was like 8.
Oh, really? Shoot.
Yeah, my age will show when I compare to my timeline with Jesse. But I've known Jesse for most of his Yu-Gi-Oh life,
mm-hmm.
So
and then,
to watch him become like one of the GOATs now is amazing.
Yeah, it really is, because like you and I have got to see him kind of grow up too, because I've seen him as well around that age, because I hung around Toronto a lot, which is where you were residing in this saga, but you'd play a lot in Toronto, and same with Jesse as well. And we'd always see him at the locals and just kind of see him grow and travel to all these events. It's just really satisfying to see that, you know, without like our area like Toronto, like we can really grow these players into like professionals, like, and bring out some of the best players in the game, kind of like yourself and your brother, and you know, at the time, like your team Superfriends back before you joined Overdose.
Yeah, I know. We'll dive a little deeper into it, but like the locals in Toronto
mm-hmm.
or in the GTA
mm-hmm.
more so have been all really good,
mm-hmm.
and yeah, like I'll definitely talk more on it as we go on.
Yeah, because, you know, we always loved going, like, at least my hometown, Peterborough, which is about an hour and a half away from Toronto. We loved coming to Toronto, and we would just even come play your locals, just the local, because it was so competitive there. And, you know, we're also, like, all good friends with each other as well, when we actually see each other. So it was just nice to say hi to everyone, like, and get some competitive duels. And because we know that every time we came to Card Masters, which was the shop that you played at, we were always down for like a wild ride, because every single match we knew was going to be tough. It was going to be competitive. Nothing was going to be easy throughout it. But that's what helped us become better players, because like the skill caliber that you guys had in that shop, like, really helped us out. And I had so much fun playing at Card Masters.
Oh, I love to hear that. And it's funny that you mentioned Card Masters being kind of early Yu-Gi-Oh for you, right? Is that
mm-hmm.
Is that early Yu-Gi-Oh for you? I'm not sure about your timeline.
It would be. So remember when we when we met each other at Shonen Jump Hamilton? That was like the first ever premiere event I ever played. I never played a regional before that, so that was like my first big event. I played Yu-Gi-Oh for about 2 years before I started turning like more competitive like that. So like I was still relatively green at the time. So going from there and then there on out, that's when I started becoming like a little bit better and better as far as like my timeline goes.
Was that the Stein format?
Yeah, that was Stein, but that was with when Corey
Stein format.
Fabish
When
went
Corey won,
undefeated.
yeah.
Yeah, with undefeated
Yeah.
with Stein. Yep.
Man, funny story for that event. Like, Lazaro made top cut,
Yep.
and at the time we were deciding to not stay in Hamilton. So I was driving from Mississauga to Hamilton, and it was like 40, let's say 25 minutes. And we woke up. So everyone, all the Americans that came to the event, a lot of the Americans stayed at our place.
Mhm.
And Lazaro, we come home, Lazaro makes top 8. And we come home and no one sets an alarm for it. So then we wake up and it's like maybe half an hour till round 1 starts or top cut starts.
Yeah.
So we rush, me and Lazaro, just me and Lazaro. I don't wake anybody else up.
Mhm.
I'm their only ride to the event. So we rush to get there, only for him to lose in top 8. So yeah, I don't think I've driven faster in my life to get from that time. But
well, thankfully you didn't get caught either.
and it's funny. I don't know if you remember the Saturday before the tournament started late because there was a huge accident on the highway.
Yes, there was. I remember that.
And I remember having to call and be like, "We're going to be really late. The highway hasn't moved." And Sean, the tournament organizer at the time, understood, and he held it. It wasn't just for us; it was for a lot of people that were trying to get to the event. But yeah, I mean, so many memories about old Yu-Gi-Oh! And as you mentioned, Card Masters, you're saying that's a little early in your Yu-Gi-Oh! Life.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it was close to the end for us. So I got a lot of stuff before that.
Yeah, and yeah, I have a lot of memories of that shop, and I knew that you guys would like hang out around all there so much. Not even just play Yu-Gi-Oh! I think there were like you guys would just like play video games in there too, like behind the counter or whatnot when it happened. And I know like as years went on, like you had Team Superfriends, so I know it was like a bunch of like the big like Toronto players, like like Matt, Ryan Peddle were part of it, like Jason Tan, Tanuki. I could keep naming on. I know you guys had a lot of members.
Do you want to know how that team started?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so back when I first started playing Yu-Gi-Oh, maybe 2003. So I started very, very like structured. Before even structured decks. I think there were starter decks first. When I first started, Magic Ruler, no, Metal Raiders was just being released.
Wow.
And yeah, I know. And at the time, one of my best friends in high school, like brought it over, and he's like, "Oh, look at this new card game. I've never played cards in my life before." Growing up, we played video games and sports. That was it. So that culture was never there for me. Oh, sorry, we played chess growing up, but like chess was just one of those things that me and Lazaro did because we could skip school and go to chess tournaments. So it's funny because we ended up becoming very good at chess, and we knew that we would leave for chess tournaments and not have to go to school, and then we'd end up winning. Lazaro won a few medals. I did well, never really placed high. But Lazaro actually, like, we learned chess from each other, which was funny. But yeah, fast forward to how the team started is back. I don't know if you remember back then, it was something called Duelist Kingdom. I don't know if that's right. Duelist Kingdom. They were giving trophies for the best player in each store.
Yes, I remember that because
the Millennium Puzzle Trophy.
Best friend has one in his, and he'll never. I didn't get an opportunity to win those, but yeah, I'm aware of those things, and they're huge.
Yeah, they're massive.
Trophy. Oh God.
Yeah. But yeah, so back then, before Facebook, before Messenger, even really, there was on the website you could find the locals nearby, and it would say who the best players in each of those stores were, like who had the highest ratings. So me and Lazar first started at EK Trading, and EK Trading is this little hole in the wall where there were 2 tables where people would play. And I only knew it because it was right outside of my parents' dental clinic that they owned. And yeah, I walked in there, I saw that they had Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and they told me they had tournaments, so we decided to play. And not many people know, but that locals had Dexter. Dexter was one of the first Yu-Gi-Oh friends I've ever met. And what we did, how me and Lazaro would meet people is we would go to each store and beat the best players at that store. So the first store we went to was called EK Trading. This is also the store that like I first saw that there were tournaments. Because after high school on the way home, it was just stores that had Yu-Gi-Oh packs. So never any tournaments, and I would just buy product on the way home. But at EK Trading, the best player was actually this guy named Tony. And Tony finished in top in 2004 or 2003. Nationals was point system only, and he finished second to not make it to nationals. So he was playing in this store and another store called Triple Play, which I'll get into. But we went here to try and face him, but he stopped going to the store. And at the store were the Chin brothers, Mike Chin and Dexter, the first Yu-Gi-Oh friends that me and Lazaro met. And yeah, there wasn't too many people at the store. We ended up becoming one of the best players here, and then we moved to the next store, which was Image Collectibles. The best player there was Matt Peddle.
Great man.
So we went to that store. We met Matt, and we just started. We played, and I'm pretty sure I won that tournament. I know I always had the better cards. Lazaro was younger, so all the good stuff went into my deck, and a Call of the Mummy zombie deck with like giant axe mummy and really bad cards. I didn't care for this stuff. I was like, you want to come with me? I'm gonna go to this tournament. I'll trade. Maybe I'll get you some better cards. So funny. That's how we meet Matt.
Yep.
And then this is before competitive play. So announced. So the next store we go to is we see is Untouchables, and Untouchables has Chris Samos as one of the better players. And we went to that store, and that store, the level of that store was much higher than the rest. You know Tamer, right?
Yes. Tamer
was at that store, and he was one of the better too. We played till we were the best players there, and really early in the game, through Yu-Gi-Oh, like obviously Pojo was around. Pojo was the form. There was Yu-Gi-Oh Realms, and then there was Duelist Grounds. And I didn't really join Duelist Grounds till later on, but yeah, that's how I made a name for myself really early in the game. Lazaro didn't. Lazaro's story picks up way later and far exceeds my own. But yeah, I made a name for myself. I was this. I don't know if you remember the anime. There was a rare hunter type of character that would go and play people for cards.
Yes. Yep. I'm familiar with the show.
That was me. I would go and you know what? I had good cards. I felt like I had the best cards. I understood the game, and I was humbled a few times. I won't lie, but I didn't back down. I was like, all right, I'll just put more stuff up, and I made this name for myself. Like now in Yu-Gi-Oh, and later on, I was kind of the good guy. In the beginning, I did not start that way. I started very similar to our boy Triff.
Oh, really?
I was. It's funny. I can take you through the timeline of when things changed.
Okay, go ahead.
Is the first ever Yu-Gi-Oh competitive play scene or organized play started. I'm gonna say 2000, like mid 2004, and there were two regionals. There was only one regionals in Canada at the time, and they didn't know how many people it was going to get. So this was already after I went, like, those are the two players that I'll name. I went to a bunch of other stores and did well there. And that's how I met Calvin. That's how I met Irvin. I didn't meet Irvin until a bit later on, but I met Calvin at one of these stores, and I met Walter at one of these stores too. So those are very vivid memories for me. But what happened is they first announced regionals, and I said the first regionals post, I'm gonna top this regionals. And everyone's like, "Who are you? You're some random." And then the the people in this area that knew me, like, "Oh, you know, back then people still do it now. People predict top 8, right?"
Yeah.
And you can go historically on Pojo and look for the very first regional thread. I don't know if it archives that far back, but my name is there a lot from the Toronto players. And then Gobstopper, so Jordan Dank in Ottawa, starts talking smack. I have no idea who he is. We're both faces behind a computer. We're both doing the same thing. And I'm telling him, I'm like, you guys, none of your guys will place. Mississauga is, this is why I'm saying Mississauga is way better than any other place. I'm already friends with Matt and Chris at this time. Walter and Calvin, we're not friends yet. We know of each other. But I'm saying, oh, Toronto sucks. Mississauga is the best. And it was this little turf war thing, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, we go to play this. We get to this regionals, and this is my first experience of a huge tournament. I know everyone has this, and everyone can remember that the first time walking into an event hall and seeing, wow, this is a lot of people. Get in, and this regionals is so big for them at the time. This regionals is probably 500 people, which is crazy.
Oh, wow.
So the very first Yu-Gi-Oh regionals is I'm not sure if 500 is the right number, but it's at least 4, definitely more than 400, and just didn't know how to do this. So what they ended up doing is splitting the regionals in half.
Oh, wow.
And the top 4 of each regionals, a few people will remember this. The top 4 of each regionals play off into top 8. So that's how you qualify. So it makes it even more difficult. You have to go perfect because we played 8 rounds or 7 rounds, and top 4 from each went to go play top 8. And at the time, this was the only time to get invite for nationals. You had to finish in top 4. So I'm like, nationals is going to be a 4-person tournament because it's only going to be the 4 people in this regionals, or they're gonna do a bunch of regionals after. So I'm saying I need to top this regionals. I'm talking all my trash because that's kind of how I am. And we go to the regionals, and this format is pre-ban list. So I had so between me and Lazaro, I did all the trading, all the collecting, all the buying. Lazaro just played because he was my younger brother. And we only had 4 Emperor Dragons and 4 Blackluster Soldiers. So this was right after IOC was released.
Yep.
So I was like, well, you got Chaos Emperor Dragon and 3 BLS, while I got triple Emperor Dragon and 1 BLS. He's like, whatever, man. You were buying the cards, you can play. So I play and I crush Swiss. I go perfect in Swiss. Yep. And I'm talking all my trash. And the Ottawa guys don't come up to me. They're not saying anything because I don't know their real names. They know my real name. I never hid myself behind a username on any forum. I was always Dale on forums. Yep. Right? I was so full of myself that, you know what? I don't even need to hide behind a username. I want people to know who I am.
Yeah.
And it was that, like, they knew who I was, and this was way before internet on cell phones, way before. And then I can't find anyone. Like I'm asking people, and do you know who Gobstopper is? Do you know who Gobstopper is? No one knows who he is. Yeah, I'm just talking my trash. I make it into top 8, and I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm probably gonna win this regionals. And this is one of the first times I started to get humbled. So I win my top 8 match, just crush them. I'm trying to remember top 8. I think Matt Petal also made top 8 in this regionals.
That's surprising from him.
Walter made top 8 in this regionals. This is how I met Walter too. Walter was playing Metamorphosis before like it was popular.
Mhm.
And the thing was I want to say I played Walter in this event because Tamer was always mentioning something called Walter's Balters because he always went into Balter.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I'll play him. I'll just drop an Emperor Dragon and blow it up. That doesn't do anything. So I want to say I played him. Maybe I didn't, but I remember sweeping 2-0ing my top 8 opponent.
Mhm.
And in top 4, I already have my invite. And at this regionals, Jason Gabbermeyer's here way long ago. I think he was just playing. Julia was there because she was part of the head of organized play way long ago. And
Yep.
Ian Estrin, I don't know if everyone remembers him, but I do because
I remember that name.
he
Yeah.
was the guy for
Back in
me.
Upper Deck.
He was like the guy for me when Yu-Gi-Oh started, and he would reach out to me whenever I needed like accommodations for that event for nationals.
Mhm.
So I go and I go into top 4, and this is the first time I'm seeing this is Barbro players, and his name is Simon, and he brings in Gravekeepers in game 2. He's playing a normal cookie cutter chaos deck, okay? And I crush him game 1. Game 2, he brings in Gravekeepers. He brings in a Necro Valley, just Necro Valley, and just
Yep.
completely shuts me out. And I don't know, like at the time, I think I'm maybe only playing 1 MST, 1 Duster, and 1 Heavy Storm.
Mhm.
And then I get beat. And I was like, wow, I don't know. I'm not the best. I didn't win this tournament. I used to win a lot of the locals that I went to. And the guy that ended up winning this regionals was one of the guys that went to my locals. He went to, his name was Anderson, and he went to Untouchables. Do you know Tommy Tam? Do you
No,
remember
I
that
don't.
name?
No, I don't recall that name, unfortunately.
Okay, it was his cousin, and I was just like, wow, people are gonna think this guy's better than me because he did better than me at this regionals.
Mhm.
So I was like, you know what, I gotta get better. So my very first regionals, I finished top 4. I said what I was gonna do on the forums, and I did it. The trash talking kind of died down when we got back. People are like, okay, he's good, right?
Mhm.
So we get to nationals. Nationals is finally announced. And I don't know if the very first Canadian nationals, they only had, so there was a few regionals. There was 1 regionals in Ontario. There was maybe 1 in like in Edmonton and 1 in British Columbia. There were only 20 people invited to this event.
Yeah.
And they couldn't have a 20-person tournament at nationals. So day 1 of nationals was only a 1-day event for us. Day 1 of nationals, they had a regionals where they had a regionals where you'll laugh, where top 64 got to play nationals.
Oh, weird.
So
Wow.
you had to go like 3 and whatever how many rounds it was. You could have lost 3 rounds to make it to nationals.
Yeah.
So I
Wow.
spent that whole day. Only Matt will remember this. I spent that whole day just playing against 2 guys. So I don't know if you know who Ross is. Ross is if you go back to Yu-Gi-Oh history, Ross is a Canadian that entered the very first American Nationals
Mhm.
and top. He finished in top 8. So there's a name Ross Mata Ross with an M that
Oh,
tops
Modelevsky. I think it was like Modelevsky.
Modelevsky.
There you
Yeah,
go.
I didn't want to butcher. I'll let you butcher and I'll just copy you. But it was him, and he topped, and he had his invite. I didn't know any of the other people that had their invite, and I know I may have rubbed a few people the wrong way, so I didn't really want to test with them. I didn't think they were, honestly, I didn't think they were good. Anderson, at my locals, we play back and forth a lot, and he's good. So I literally played 100 matches that day, waiting for everyone to play the regional, because I took Lazaro. Lazaro needed to get his invite.
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean, Anderson was the only person I could play. We play 100 matches of like the same deck over and over again. Pointless, absolutely pointless. We got nothing from this, right?
Oh,
No,
ouch.
no place. It was literally just playing Yu-Gi-Oh, and this was back when like Yu-Gi-Oh was fresh. Like I love Yu-Gi-Oh. I loved everything about it.
Mhm.
So then Matt comes, and Matt's like at the very end of regionals, he's like, "Did you actually play the whole day?" I'm like, "Yeah, I mean probably 100 matches."
Mhm.
So day two, Sunday nationals, and I tell my parents that morning, I'm like, "Oh yeah, if I win, I'm gonna go to Japan." And they're like, "Okay, where are you going?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm playing a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament. I'm playing nationals." And my parents always made this joke, the cheesiest joke
Mhm.
to like my family members. They're like, "Oh yeah, he's gonna be a cardiologist." I'm like, okay, that's not funny." They're like, "Yeah, cards, right?"
Yeah, yeah.
They're Asian parents, right? They want you to be doctors. That's in their mind.
Of course, yeah.
So they're
I
like
thought the same thing too.
they're dentists, and they're like, "Yeah, he's," and then they make that joke, and it's embarrassing when they ask me what it is, and I'm like, you know what, time to prove them wrong. So message
Mhm.
board leading up to this day, people are doing their predictions, and again, I put myself out there. I'm like top eight, top eight for Canadian Nationals 2004. Dale
Mhm.
number one, and then the next from 2 to 8, I just put random,
Mhm.
full of myself. So I'll admit to it, right? So I go to play that event, and at that time, my deck was post ban list. So Emperor was at 1. It was after the very first ban list. So it's still, I think it's traditional format now, considered traditional, where it was like one of
Yeah,
each power card, right?
yeah, that's what it would be.
So I play this event where everyone is playing Mystic Tomato, and I'm thinking like, okay, Shining Angel is way better than Mystic Tomato because when
Mhm.
you crash, you're gonna go into Sangan. I'm gonna go into a Warrior Lady.
Yep.
So everyone like this is like one of those times where I felt like, you know what, I'm way ahead of these guys. I do that, and I go X1 in Swiss.
Mhm.
So you know what, I made top eight. I'm gonna do it. I win top four. Sorry, I win my top eight match against um I can't even remember who it is. But before top eight, I want to go to one story in one round. And if Walter and Calvin are listening to this, though there was a nice old man that played in their local named Doug. And Doug makes a move. I can't remember what it is, but then he calls the judge about a play down the line in the move. And the judge goes, "Oh, you couldn't have made that move. That's illegal." And I don't know why I didn't catch it,
Mhm.
but he calls the judge, and the judge says that play's illegal. You get a game loss. And then
Ooh.
Walter and Calvin are there, and Walter and Calvin are like, "Dale shark this guy. Dale sharked him. Dale's a shark." And I hated. They know I hated them for so long because they're saying that. I'm like, how am I a shark? The guy called the judge himself,
Yeah.
and he was cool with it. Like he's like, "Oh, I didn't know I can do that," and he took the game loss. And then it's they were just saying that, um, yeah, I sharked them. I didn't shark them. I they know the story, but that's one of my memories of this event.
Mhm.
And I played like a lot of my good friends in this tournament. Like I played Marco before. Marco ends up being a huge part of my life now. But
Mhm.
yeah, I played Marco at this region at this nationals, and yeah, I do well. I win my top eight match. I win my top four match, so I'm in the finals. And this is my next humbling experience again. So
Oh.
I feel like my deck is way better than everybody else's,
Mhm.
and I get hit. So in the finals, I win game one, and now people are starting to like back me, right? I'm against Joseph Lung,
Mhm.
Chicken Whacker, for anyone who remembers old Pojo. His name was Chicken Whacker.
Yep, I
But
do.
yeah, a good guy, man. He was a nice guy.
Mhm.
But yeah, like I never did any OCG research. I just played in stores. I'm like, you know what? I read cards, and I put cards together, and I'm like, these are good cards. These belong
Mhm.
in a deck together.
Yeah.
And no one really in my area in Mississauga on that end did any research of that sort. But in Scarborough and in the Markham area, these guys did. And Simon was also, so the guy that beat me in top 4 of the regionals before did that type of research. And then Joseph Long, again, another guy that played in the same locals, I believe. I'm playing in the finals. And then everyone's trying to get on my side. I was like this personality type of thing where now I wasn't so arrogant. I was being funny. People liked me. Judges like me. I rubbed a lot of people the right way now. And I'm playing and I beat him game 1. And then game 2, I get hit with the Thousand Eyes Restrict Lock. And I don't know if I've ever seen this before, but I just don't know how to play against it.
Was that brought up by Metamorphosis?
Yeah, it was brought up by Meta.
Okay,
and I'm just like, and he also sided into the Necro Valley stuff, the Gravekeepers.
Oh.
So I end up losing in the finals of nationals. So I'm just like, this is devastating. Like, I was this close to Japan. And what kills it, so what a lot of people don't know is he, in the round before, I want to say it's either in top 8 or top 4, he accidentally double summons against one of the guys.
Oh, wow.
He double summons against one of the guys. I think it's top 4 against Jamie, a friend of mine. He double summons against him to kill him. If he didn't double summon, he lost.
Oh, jeez.
And they caught it way too late, and they go to tell the judge, and the judge is like, well, there's no proof, right? The game's over. So Jamie was like, oh, if I made it to the finals, you could have gone to Worlds because I'm not allowed to go. My parents wouldn't have let me. So shoot. I was like destined to go to Worlds. Well, no, sorry. I was not destined to go to Worlds since he ended up beating me. But I was like, man, I had a lot of stuff running for me, and it didn't work out. But after that event, yeah, I didn't win again. Like, these are 2 major events for us. And the 2 major events in Toronto or in Canada, like I'm gradually getting better. Top 8 or top 4, the first regionals, and second, my first nationals or the first nationals, right?
Yeah.
And so the next season comes along, and I just like, I'm devastated by not doing well here, and a lot of people having their, like, my aura getting beat a bit, right? Because I thought I was the best. I thought I was very good, and no one could beat me. But I've lost, right? I can't say that when I've lost 2 big events. So time comes around, and we play, and Toronto starts to get more regionals, and I top all the regionals. Regionals is a cakewalk for me. And like, if we go back, before I quit in like fully quit traveling in 2011 or 2012, I already amassed over 50 regional tops. And this was before, like, I would never really travel for regionals. It's just regionals that came along here, and regionals were easy. So yeah, I have a really bad nationals. 2005 Nats come around, and I know my losses. My losses are to Marcus Spanier and Calvin.
Yeah.
And what
Spanier
kills
from
me,
Ottawa.
Yeah, from Ottawa. Yeah. And that sucked. Like, I hated losing to anyone from Ottawa. And Calvin beats me. And what kills me about Calvin beating me is the regionals before, Calvin I think he already has his invite, but he doesn't know. He got it really early and doesn't know what deck to play. So on the side, at the on the side of the regionals after each round, I just play people for fun, and I had the Benkai deck. So this was GOAT format now. So I had the Benkai deck, and I'm just like, oh yeah, look at this. I thought it was gimmicky, right? And Calvin's like, oh, let me see that deck. And Calvin's like, oh, this deck's fun. I'm like, all right, here, take it. So he takes it, and then he ends up beating me a month later with it. and he doesn't even beat me with Benkai, which kills me. He beats me
Oh,
with like
dude.
no, he beats me with like a tribe infecting virus. Like he never goes giant tornado, Benkai, bunch of Eclipse attack.
Yeah.
He just beats me, and at that nationals I finished in top 16 when there was only top 32 or top 8 cut.
Mhm.
So I'm pissed, and at around this time, um, Shonen Jumps are starting to get announced. During a little bit before GOAT format, and a lot of them were always really far away. The first
Mhm.
close one was Indianapolis, but or Charlotte. So Charlotte was one of the closer ones, the first ones. And my team at the time, we didn't make a team at the time. We were just good friends. So and Chris, and Kyle Duncan decide to go to this event, and they're like, "Oh, do
Mhm.
you want to come?" I'm like, "Oh, how are we getting there?" They're like, "Oh, we're taking a bus." I'm like, I don't think my parents will let me travel at this time to the States, right? They think it's a card game. They're not really backing it.
Yeah.
And they go and they come back. Duncan makes top 8. Kyle Duncan's one of the best Yu-Gi-Oh players out of Canada that not many people have forgotten. You
Yep.
haven't. I know you haven't, but
Definitely not, because I know he won Philly. He went undefeated in Philly with Recruiter Chaos at the time. Yeah,
yeah.
I remember that.
What's our time limit here, buddy? Because I can go. Like
Oh
I'm
yeah,
still
dude.
like I'm in still like my
Oh,
first
dude.
early years of Yu-Gi-Oh.
We like I've had it. We're gone for like 2 hours, man. So don't worry. I think we're at like around a good like 40, 50 minutes right now. So we're good.
Okay. So I'll try to pick up the pace.
Yeah.
So they go to this event, and Duncan makes top 8, and he loses, and I'm like, man, this is awesome. Like this is another premier event that, you know what, I could start to make a name for myself in the States. So the next event is Indy, and Matt's like, oh, we can go, and I think I had some family obligation where I wasn't allowed to go,
Mhm.
and my parents like, oh, you can't do that, we got to do this. And I'm like, oh god. So they went, and then Matt ends up making top 8. I'm like, wow, you guys, like, we can do it, right? Like, we're good. And at the time, I'm like, we're at the skill level. Our team is at the skill level. We're good enough to break through. So we haven't really been testing too much together, because at the time when we're playing in Canada, we're playing against each other, right? And now we're just like, all right, we're going to the States. We want to do well. Let's start forming a team. Let's start testing together. We've already been friends for a long time, and let's not look at each other as competition. Let's iron sharpen iron type of thing, right? So we start collabing, and the very first event we go to together is my very first Shonen Jump is Shonen Jump Chicago in 2005.
The very famed
The
one for
very
you. Yeah.
yes, the only, unfortunately, the only one, right?
Yeah.
And we go, and then these guys are testing their decks, and I don't like it. Like, I don't like the Warrior Toolbox deck that they're playing. I'm like, I want to play Mystic Tomato. I always liked recruiters, and I was just like, you know what? I think Mystic. I'm the only one that's gonna play different deck. So we go to the event.
Mhm.
Chris, Lazaro, J10, and Matt are all playing. Matt, Chris, and Lazaro put this deck together. All of
Mhm.
them actually put this deck together. This Warrior Toolbox deck, which was, honestly, if we look back, this deck was probably the best deck. Even though we know what happens here, but I think it was the best deck. So we go to the event. We land on Friday night, and J10 didn't drive with us.
Mhm.
Oh, sorry, even before leading up to the event, I'm talking all this trash because it's the first American event I'm going to. Americans didn't really look at Canadian events at the time, and it's
Yeah.
just on Pojo, right? A few people know me, and I'm just the first post that I do. I don't know I can't remember if it's on Yu-Gi-Oh Realms. It's definitely not on Pojo. It's Yu-Gi-Oh Realms or Duelist Grounds. I say I'm gonna win this event. I'm gonna win my first American event, and everyone's like talking shit, and I'm like, I'll put money on it. I swear. And I'm like, I'm talking trash. No one, obviously, no one takes that bet, right?
Yeah.
I'm behind the keyboard. No one thinks I'm gonna honor it anyways. So yeah, we go to the event, And I remember one guy from Texas talking a lot of trash, Ryan Serta. Again, similar to Gobstopper, but I never meet him. I'm like, I'll play you for whatever. Never meet him at that event. But we get to our hotel room, and this is my first meeting of my then like really close Yu-Gi-Oh friends, or friends in life now, Paul Leviton. So Paul Leviton ended up staying in our hotel, like the same hotel we did. Same with Roy St. Clair. Same with Shane Scurry. And they're like, oh, this is just Team Scoop. Overdose isn't there yet. Overdose is in a different hotel.
Yep.
But this is Team Scoop. And they're like, oh, you guys are Canadian? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, you want to play for money? And they're like, okay. They're not going to back down. So I go into their hotel room and I beat them for money. They will confirm this. I beat them for money. And I sided into my side deck at the time. I played a very similar, not my exact deck list that I played for the event, a similar deck because I felt like I didn't want to show anything off. And I was siding into Bazoo Return. And I beat them with Bazoo Return when I sided into it.
Yeah.
So then we go play the event. Round 2, Matt will remember this. Round 2, I'm losing. I'm getting destroyed by this mom, someone's mom at the event.
I'm looking up the name now.
Her name is either round 2 or round 3. I know I played Jordan Nasser in one of the earlier rounds.
It's looking like round 2. I'm looking at it now. I'm seeing the name as Betty Ruth Black.
Betty Ruth. Oh my. Betty Ruth almost stopped the dream. Let me tell you. I went to go hit with, I'm trying to remember. I didn't play Air Knight, so it was definitely like a Donzalug that went to go hit, or a Spirit Reaper that went to hit.
Oh, to my heart, Donzalug.
And she goes, discard Karibo. I was like, wow, okay.
Wow.
Her turn, she goes, snatch on my Donzalug, attack, and hits the breaker out of my hand.
Oh.
Oh, no, sorry. She doesn't hit the breaker out of my hand. She hits something that I can run over. Oh, a tomato. She hits the tomato that I was going to crash. And I'm like, God damn. So next turn I draw. I think it's Scapegoat or something defensive. So I draw, Reaper. I draw a Reaper. I set Reaper. She draws. Tributes Dawn for Air Knight. I'm like, holy shit. And, sorry, I don't mean to. It's just Matt's there, and Matt's like, wow, you're getting crushed. And literally it was back and forth of I don't have anything. Like I top something to answer it, she does something else. She draws something to answer it. And I literally go like runner to get out of that. And this is game 3, and I end up just barely winning when everyone's watching.
Wow.
When everyone's watching. So one of the other things at this event is we were following competitive play. So we knew Team Overdose was obviously Team Comic Odyssey was dominating before, but they were already like passing the guard to Overdose at the time. And Overdose was here, and like I was a huge fan of all these guys, right? I was a huge fan of Paul Leviton, wasn't on Overdose at the time, but Anthony Alvarado, Brian Cornell, Rymus, Jerry as well, and Chris Provic later on. But yeah, I was a huge fan. I'm like, you know what? I'm a little starstruck, right? I'm seeing these guys. And round 1, like Brian Cornell is coming off like I think a Nationals top 4, maybe 2 Shonen Jump top 8s or top 4s. And round 1, Lazaro plays Brian Cornell and Lazaro beats him. I'm like, wow, Lazaro at the time is the worst player on our team. And beat one of the best American players. So I'm like, these guys, they're nothing. So I run through the event, and if you look at the last round of Swiss, all the Canadians are in contention to top 8. So it's I'm perfect. Lazaro's X1, Chris Samos is X1. So our Team Superfriends, we do the team profile. It's Jason Tan, Chris Samos, Matt Petal, Lazaro, myself. And in the last round, Jason Tan just lost to go X2, but Matt's X1, Chris's X1, I'm perfect, and Lazaro's X1. So, and Andrew Hayton is also X1, another Canadian.
Yeah.
So we have the chance to put 5 Canadians in. And the trash we're talking is Canadian players are better than Americans at the time. That's
Yeah.
what we're saying. I'm like, just naturally how I am. I said that. And then Jerome even writes, he's like, the Canadians are making a massive impact on this event. And then I'm just like, you know what? We're going to do it. And the round before, me and Matt play. And I will thank Matt for the rest of my life because we're playing and Matt just like, you can have the win.
Oh,
We don't even
wow.
play.
Oof.
Matt's just like, you know
Yeah.
what? You can have the win. Matt's like, I'll beat. Matt was also very confident in himself, and Matt's like, Matt gave me the win, and just because like, I don't know win, and then he goes, I'll just beat whoever I play next round. Just make sure you win, right?
I see where this is going now.
So I go to the next round. Matt plays Lazaro.
Yep, I'm seeing that right now.
Matt plays Lazaro.
Oh.
Chris Amos plays Augustin Herrera, and Andrew Hayton plays Jerry Wang. Right? Am I right there? I don't know if you see that.
No, I don't. Okay, I see Jerry Wang was playing someone else.
Oh, okay. Maybe Andrew Hayton's only lost with Jerry Wang in Swiss, and then he loses the last round.
He lost to the guy you played in finals, Carlos Santiago.
Oh, he lost to Carlos. Okay, yeah. But Chris does play Augustin, right? Augustin Herrera.
Yeah, I'm just trying to look that up right now. Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so I remember some of that, and Matt loses. Lazaro ends up beating Matt. They have the exact same deck, but I lose, and I'm like, I feel so bad. I'm like, you know what? Hopefully he gets in on breakers, and then Matt misses top 8. Right? But Matt just like, what? Matt was cool with. Matt was just like, do you? I got my top 8. Just win for us, right? Like people don't know. Like as teammates, a lot of the times we didn't play each other. We just like, you know what? I think you're better. You have the better chance. You take it. Like, go. I think you could win the event. We made this commitment to playing together because we no longer wanted to be competition, right? We're just like at the end of the day, we split our prizing and we want to make a name for our team. So Matt gives me the win, and we end up playing top 8. And that night I'm testing. I guess I'm against Bryce, and Bryce has this like Cyber Dragon Dekoichi deck, and Matt's playing it against me, and Matt's like, "Oh wow, you're gonna lose." Because I don't win it. I don't take a game off Matt.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, this deck is amazing, like Bryce's deck. And in my mind, I'm like, all right, let's copy this deck for the next event. And yeah, I play Bryce and I 2-0 him, and I'm like, oh wow, maybe Matt was just way better. Like that's what I'm just hoping in my head, or maybe Bryce drew really poorly. And all I know is I just Reaper shotted him enough times, and he had like no cards.
Yeah.
Top 4, and Lazaro also makes top 8. Okay.
Yeah.
So top 4, Lazaro wins his top 8. So it's to the Super Friends, me and Lazaro, versus Paul and Carlos.
Yeah.
2 Team Scoop members. And I'm very notorious for bluffing a lot. And I was pro storming. I was doing pro storm back when we still had Feather Duster and stuff like that, right? And that's something I was known for in the Toronto area, and for inventing the pro storm, which you set it as a bluff and you mask it behind something else. You get your opponent to set 2, and then you do it, and it's the first pro storm on feature match, right? So I pro storm Paul to come back, and then I beat him. And then Carlos top decks a Goblin Elite Attack Force on Lazaro's like attack mode. I want to say DD Assailant when he's at like just enough life points where that kills him. And yeah, I play Carlos in the finals. And then Carlos, I pro storm Carlos too. And even in the feature match, I'm like, hey, ask your teammate what I just did to him, because they're playing the exact same deck, and I know that deck is weak to this. So I just do that, and I set him up, and I just have so much advantage over the whole time, and I win. And I'm like, wow, I did what I said I was going to do. I won the event. And then just out of nowhere, I started as not the bad guy, like just the arrogant guy in Toronto, and the forums flooded with all the Canadian players saying congratulations, and I kind of became like the Canadian hero at the time, and it was just like I put Canada on the map kind of thing. Even though there were other people to talk first, but I just wanted to make a name for Canada, and it was the first big win. And yeah, it was celebrated by everybody, right? I came back and it was congrats, and everyone was cool, and all the arrogance that people once thought was changed, right? I joining a team, I also changed, right? I wanted to help other people get better, and for me, I was the guy that traded for the whole team, right? I would never let Matt Petal trade. Matt was one of the worst traders. This guy would get ripped off like no tomorrow. So I'm like, you know what deck do we need? And I will get everything. And that was part of the reason why I started to become the good guy. I used that to catapult myself into, you know what, you know who I am, and I'm gonna give you a fair deal. And yeah, I just trade for everyone, and a lot of people like traded in my favor, and they were willing to do so just because like that status, which as shitty as it sounds, like it helped me, but I would in return, like they want to play a game, we talk on message boards, they need deck advice, like I would help them. I became that guy. Like I've always been very open to people. That's around the time you started playing. Like I may have had a little bit of arrogance still because I still felt like our team was the best team. And yeah, it carries on from, unfortunately, like I peaked in Yu-Gi-Oh in 2005. Like that was my highest finish, which I chased ever since, right? I could never get back to the win, which sucks. I have over 20 tops. That is still up there in Yu-Gi-Oh history, but I just couldn't win again. And a lot of the times, like part of it was being on a team. I would give wins to other people because I felt like, you know what, their deck is better. But like I didn't actually lose, right? And it's similar to what Matt did, right? Maybe Matt gave me his chance of winning because of that. So like, you know what? It's just Matt did it for me and for the greatest good for our team. Like for example, there's an event where Adam Korn is playing anti-GB Monarchs or Corn Monarchs, what it ends up being called. Corn Monarchs with Prime Material Dragon. That match, and I'm playing Gladiator Beast, and we play in top 16. And that match isn't that heavily one-sided. It's obviously there's a lot to the Monarch side because that deck is meant to beat that, but an early Heraclinos just wipes that game out, right? And there's still a chance, but I don't even play it, and I just give him the win. And I've given wins before. And it's just I became that, you know what, I want the team to do well. And we end up joining forces with Overdose down the line. And this is after Overdose makes the change to, so Overdose was originally like the core New Jersey players. And then they added, I know you had Chris Brovic earlier, so they added Paul and Shane to that team. And then they added the Canadians. They added us, right? And we just became this powerhouse team. We were already collabing, well, way before we joined. And yeah, that's just like early. That is the first 3 years of my ever so long Yu-Gi-Oh career, and that's probably an hour's worth of talking.
Well, there's a ton I want to unpack here in all of this with that big story, because I remember like reading all of that going along here when I would go on metagame.com way back when, before I got to go to events. So I want to start with, you know, how did it feel to actually win that Shonen Jump Championship in Chicago? You know, you were the first Canadian to actually win that kind of event, and that's never going to change.
Yeah, like being the first Canadian to ever win, being the first non-American to win an event, my name will always be in history, right? Which is, for me, it's awesome. But honestly, part of winning was just like, oh, thank God I don't have to deal with all the trash talk on the forums when I get home.
Mhm.
Because I would talk so much trash saying I was going to win this event. And if you look back, you could find it. Like, I could find the archive post saying that, oh, this is how I did it.
Mhm.
I posted in deck discussion, Shonen Jump Chicago champions deck list.
Yeah.
And it was my post with my deck. And it was like a week before, and then the first comment was like, "You're full of shit," or you're
Full of
you're
it.
nothing.
Yeah.
I'm like, "Yeah, you're full of it. You're full of it," and I'm just like, "Okay, whatever." And then I carry it on to like the thing the event thread,
Mhm.
but it was really just, you know what? I was happy that I finally won an event.
Mhm.
I knew I could win an event, and I knew that. Unfortunately, it just my championship stops there, but my name is also in Yu-Gi-Oh history as we go forth because I'm a consistent top finisher because I love the game.
Mhm.
I've always been a student of the game, and but yeah, winning that event, I was just honestly, I was more happy that I didn't have to deal with the trash talk when I got home.
That I can believe.
Yeah.
So I remember reading the coverage on that tournament, and I was a bit saddened because there was a chance that you and Lazaro could have got to play each other in finals, but because Santiago topped that Gobbly attack force, and it was against DDSL, you were right, against Lazaro,
Yeah.
and off the top, man, it's like, were you really hoping for that matchup to happen, that you and your brother would be like in the finals? Because I'm sure like at least everyone in Canada during that time that I was playing was really hoping for that match.
They were, and a few people wanted like Lazaro to win that
Mhm.
matchup,
Yeah.
like because he was the underdog. But I'm like, you know what? I got you all your damn cards. You better give me the win here. But we had to play it anyways. But yeah, for a long time I was the better player, the best player on our team,
Mhm.
and the guard changed almost overnight, and in blink of an eye, I was Lazaro's brother, and no longer Dale, right?
Yeah.
So hey, I'm good with that. I'm okay with that. So
Well, if Lazaro had won, like would beat Carlos, like would you have to like decided to like maybe like split prizes or something like that? Or were you to like actually
oh,
just play together?
we were already splitting prizes, right? That's why Matt gave me the win
Yeah.
because our team. We just put everything together and we sold it all and we split it.
Mhm.
That's how we funded our travel.
Mhm. And then how about like the championship title? Would you guys would have like split on the title? Because I remember there was like
I don't.
a
Yeah.
title. There was a title before that I think someone officially won, but they kind of scooped.
John Jensen, Andrew Fidella.
Right. That's
No,
the one.
no. Only one pitcher gets taken, buddy. We had to play it out.
That's
But yeah,
understandable, but you got your one, and I know that like I've seen you play a whole lot of big events since, and I know you've been like I've been rooting for like you and Lazaro for a very long time, seeing you go through this, and I know that you couldn't get it off, and then we started to see like Lazaro just come out of his shell and just become one of his own, and like it just become his own name, and he just started to destroy. I mean, he became a Canadian Nats champ. He's won 2 YCSs at least. I know he won Toronto. He's won like a Nationals in Toronto, and then he won Costa Mesa.
Toronto twice, yeah.
And then Costa
Toronto
Mesa
twice.
as well, which was at the time one of the biggest events there. Like, how was it like being like with you two like being able to play together and just kind of like build up off each other as like the years go by?
The craziest thing is we never played at home.
Mm-hmm.
We barely play as a team. We barely play tested. Later on as we started to like after I won and we started to do well and we started to just like all big teams did dictate the metagame.
Mm-hmm.
We rarely practiced. Honestly, we rarely practiced and we just hung out. We were a bunch of friends, and Lazaro, my brother, is my best friend to now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just when we did play at home, we got bored of it. We just never play tested. And the thing for us is we did go to locals often. Like, I loved Yu-Gi-Oh! I'll tell you the truth. I probably went to like 3 or 4 locals a week.
Oh wow, oof, it's a lot.
Yeah, and see, and that's probably that is very big to like our upbringing in Yu-Gi-Oh! Because like the GTA was surrounded, like unfortunately for you, you're in Peterborough, right?
Yeah.
You probably only had 1 local a week, right?
Yeah, at that time I only had 1 local.
Yeah, the stores were not super competitive with each other,
Mhm.
so they would all have different locals for each day.
Mhm.
Like one store, like let's say Image ran it on Thursday, Untouchables ran it on Saturday, Sunday, and Tuesday. Excalibur ran it on Saturdays. Cardmasters ran it on Saturday night. So like I would play Saturday. I played so much Yu-Gi-Oh! I'll tell you the truth. I like I would play Wednesday, like after school. I would play Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I'd play a Monday and a Tuesday. I would play a morning tournament,
Mhm.
play some basketball in between, and then Cardmaster start at 7 o'clock at night. Like, and then on Sunday, we would go out on Saturday night after the tournament. I would get home at like 4 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, nice.
I almost crashed my car once.
Ooh.
I remember, and Matt Matt woke up when I was driving. He's like, "Are we about to die?" I'm like, "No, we're good. We almost died." And then we would wake up for the Sunday tournament, and crazy. But a lot of the times, like we just went, and it was just there was like so many of us that we would just play each other
Mhm.
and be like, I don't want to play, you can play, you have the win. Like we weren't really playing, but we were just around each other so often and around Yu-Gi-Oh
Mhm.
that like I don't we love Yu-Gi-Oh. I'll tell you the truth right now, I'm surrounded by Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I was gonna sort some stuff
Mhm.
while I was on this call with you,
Mhm.
but like I'm just down memory lane. I put the cards down.
It's fun taking a trip to this too, because like I've got to see you through this as well, and you've kind of seen me evolve through it as well. Because
Oh
like
yeah.
so like we've kind of grown up with the game a little bit together, even though we're about 90 minutes apart, and it's always fun like playing against you. I think I have like a 1-3 record against you. You've demolished me like a good chunk of times. I'm 0
Did
4
you
against Lazaro.
when did you beat me? Is it when Water came out? You
Yeah, we
I
were.
think you
It
beat me that
was.
regional.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
a
Water
Mermail mirror match. Yeah, Mermail mirror
mirror
match. It
match.
was
Yeah,
last round, and when I saw
I
your name,
remember. Yeah,
I was crushed when I saw your name come up. Like, because I thought, okay, I'm gonna top the regional. Wait, there's one more round, because this was like the first time in a long time that Toronto had a 9-round regional, and I never topped the
yeah,
Toronto regional before this. So when I saw your name up there, I'm like, oh my god, like all this is gonna be for nothing, because I got to play Dale. I've never beat him before, and this was a Mermail mirror match when it first came out.
yeah.
Oh
I
god.
remember that. And you know what? To that event, I remember that event because I was just getting back into the game.
Yeah.
So what's crazy with I'll even talking a little bit before that on why we kind of stopped
Mhm.
was so a lot of people don't remember, but Upper Deck used to run Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yes.
Organized play, and Konami took over, right? Konami took over, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Died for like 5 months, 6 months, and a lot of our friends stopped playing. There were no locals. There weren't many locals, and it's similar to like I'm putting it very similar to coronavirus right now. But the online digital platforms that let you play is keeping the game alive.
Mhm.
And the market completely died at that time. There were very few players to play. Like a lot of the Overdose players,
Mhm.
that time stopped. Like the big names after the Konami takeover, the
Mhm.
YCSs,
Mhm.
all the SGC guys stopped. Like there's very few people that continued. Like the ones that did continue are legends now, right? They're like the Billy Breaks and the Jeff Jones. Like I want to say the Billy Breaks of the world and the Jeff Jones, but really they're in their own category now.
Yeah, they
So
really are.
yeah, they really are. But yeah, and it's unfortunate, right? Because I used to make fun of Billy me and Billy are good friends, and I used to always tease Billy at events,
Mhm.
and him and Ryan Spicer, so the Texas guys, I would always be like, you know what? How many? I have more tops than both you guys combined,
Mhm.
and you guys are playing two people per event. Like I was still a little arrogant to them,
Mhm.
but we were friends, and it was just this playful banter. And then I look at it now, Billy is a god. Billy is there, right? Billy is on that pedestal
Mhm.
that I'm looking up now, and there's very few people there. And like and Jeff too. Like I've known Jeff for so long. I've known Jeff since 2004,
Mhm.
and very good friend. And I just had there's so many friendships I have with people in Yu-Gi-Oh that I'll have forever. But anyway, sorry. So continue to yeah. This event is I'm coming back, and I'm perfect in Swiss with this Mermaid deck,
Mhm.
and I'm picking this up, and Yu-Gi-Oh is already crazy, right? Like Yu-Gi-Oh has shifted from making your mount, so the mount position where it was decks like Teledad and Infernity, right? Like I made my setup and you can't do anything, to this new explosive style of deck, and this is where I'm starting to see the very big change.
Mhm.
And I'm like, this Mermaid deck is crazy, and I'm crushing people. And then let's call mine in your round 9. In round 8, I play Botang,
Oh, yeah.
and Botang tops an Undine. Is it Undine? No, that's not. Is that the
Jax
one that
Undine.
dumps the water?
Yeah.
Yeah, Genix Undine, and just like like crushes me in game 3. Oh no, sorry, I make a play and I hit a Sangan, and then he searches for the Undine and just crushes me the next turn, and I'm like,
Oh.
man, this sucks. And then
Mhm.
I play you next round. I'm like, oh God, I hope I don't lose the buoy. I've never lost the buoy
Yeah.
before. And then you beat me, and I'm like, you know what? It's just a loss. It's what it is, and I
Yep.
accept it. Even though like I hold like a winning records amongst like many pros and very good players like yourself.
Yep.
And you got to lose sometime, right?
Yeah, it happens, and I had the same parallel with I'm pretty sure you remember my friend Ian Shields.
Yep.
Yeah, so like it's the same thing that happened with him and me. What happened to you, me and you? I would perennially beat him all the time. It didn't matter where we went. It could be at locals. He would never beat me ever. And then we topped 8 at. We both topped 8 together Upper Deck Day Ottawa. That's after we took the deck list off you after Lazaro won Upper Deck Day Toronto. We took it to Ottawa, and in other words, and we played each other in Swiss. I killed him in Swiss. I 2-0'd him, and then we had to play
Yeah.
each other again in top 8. Like it was in the quarterfinals, and then he beats me 2-0, 2-1 in a really intense match. I'm like, the one time I have to lose to Ian has to be in a top 8, and then and it's kind of the same thing here. The one time I am able to beat you happens to be on the bubble at a regional, just when the stakes were the highest.
It's a good time, man. It's all a good time.
Just a funny little thought. I didn't mean to always tell you that too, and like I've never gotten to tell you
I
that.
remember it, buddy. I'm the one that said that. It was maybe you said it, but I remember that match.
Yeah,
And
I remember it very vividly, just because it was a very memorable match for myself. Because like again, like I'm not trying to like brag to you or anything like that, but like you permanently
hey,
beat me all
take
the
it,
time.
take it, buddy. I brag all the time. I brag all the time, and it's just one of those things. Like I love the game. I committed so much time. I was confident, and
Mhm.
you know what? Do I? In my eyes, I earned this.
Mhm.
In other people's eyes, maybe not. But it's hey, I'm living one life, so.
Yeah. And nowadays, like you haven't been really touching into the game much. So what's kind of slowed you down from playing the game as of late?
Adult stuff. Like I remember I was telling you that I had to do a few things before we got on tonight.
Mhm.
I was cleaning my fridge. Literally adult, like being like I'm a full-fledged adult.
Yeah.
Like just like Chris Provic a few days ago, like I'm engaged. I have I have a house I gotta pay for. I
Mhm.
work a lot of hours,
Mhm.
and yeah, I mean I talk to Jesse very often,
Mhm.
and I always tell him, hey man, like I'm ready to come back. He's like, no, you're not. No, you're not. And funny story is that 3v3 that Dominic Couch won, and I think Barrett was on their team.
Yeah.
It was Barrett, Jesse, and Asala. Jesse asked me, he's like, if you're actually gonna commit to playing, we'll add you to the team.
Mhm.
And then I just said, you know what, you know me too well. I say I'm gonna do it and I don't.
Mhm.
And yeah, he ends up they go with Barrett, and or Jesse asked me, he actually asked me, he's like, were you actually serious about playing? And I was like, no, because originally Marcello was on his team,
Mhm.
and then there was a 3v3 or YCS announced in Europe, and Marcello couldn't be on that team anymore.
Mhm.
So Jesse's like, if you're serious, do you want to join? And we have someone else that's practiced a lot and already familiar. I mean, just take him. But for me, if I picked up this game again,
Mhm.
I would do well. Only because the concept of Yu-Gi-Oh doesn't change that much, like in my
Mhm.
mind. Like I know what cards are better, and I know a lot of this is you have to play turn 1. Your turn 1 has to be super solid. but games still don't end on turn one. Not often. It does more often than not. I mean, more often in the past, but you still have to know what happens after, and that's just something like I can adapt to situations. I learn quickly. But yeah, you asked me why I'm not, or what stopped me from getting into Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah, because you haven't been
I'm
playing a whole lot
actually
lately.
I haven't been playing current. I play a lot of GOAT format.
And that's what Chris Perfect was telling me. He told me about a couple of months ago that you're deep into that now. So what is about it that decided for you at least like focus on that part of Yu-Gi-Oh?
I like to win, man. It's one of those things. And Chris was saying it the same on his podcast. It's one of those. He goes back to it when he feels like he's failing, because it's so easy for him to do well and be the best. And we had this me and him both had this conversation. Is like, at one point in time, we were like, at one point in time, I was the best Yu-Gi-Oh player in the world, right? Like, when you win that event, you're the in my own mind, I was the best player in the world, right? I was always up there, and even historically now, and if you look at credentials, if they count, like, I still keep score for myself, because it's, you know what, this is something I committed so much time in my life to this. I'm still gonna keep score, and I'm still cred wise in the top 20, having heavily retired a lot of my competitive play way back in 2013. I do have further tops, and it speaks to the volume that I can still adapt and still do well. Like, I told Jesse that I rode with Jesse to one of the events, and Daryl, his dad, who's awesome, was like, I told him I was going to get my invite for nationals. He's like, "Oh, you don't have your invite for nationals?" I'm like, "No, I'll get it in top 32 of this event." And he just laughed.
Yeah.
And this was back to my arrogance, right? I'm like, "Yeah, I'll do it." And then it's YCS Pittsburgh. It's my first comeback to this is Zodiac format, and I play a deck with no D barriers, because at the time I didn't really think D barrier was it, because I wanted to also stop hand traps so I could push forward, and I just played strikes, and yeah, I end up coming top 32, and I'm like, oh, easy cakewalk. But that isn't like the first time that I just jumped back into the game. YCS Toronto's were the only events I was going to, because it was literally, I'll take the weekend off work, show up downtown, commit zero time to travel, just play, see a bunch of my old friends, and then not think about it for another year. So I have tops with, so after my first hiatus was Dragoonity Ruler, and I'm so blessed that I have this connection with the like, at the time, the top Yu-Gi-Oh players. That Patrick Hoban just freely offers me his deck list, and this is something that Patrick and my team don't have in common, where this guy would publicize these broken combos instead of using it to his own advantage, even if he's the one that made it. Like, people don't know, but Pat was the first person to show Magician Shark combo for windup, and he posted it. And we're eating at a restaurant, and I'm on my phone, and I'm someone sends it to me. They're like, Magician Shark is game or Shockmaster and this board, and I'm like, holy, like, this is a crazy play. And at the time, like, before, people don't know, but Tristan Gonzalez, who ended up joining our Cardmasters team after Overdose.
Great guy. I miss him, by the way.
I hope he's doing well.
Yeah, I hope so too.
He invented the 1-for-1 Dandelion combo. 1-for-1 Dandelion Debris combo, where it's draw have a full draw a new hand of 5, and have a full board. Like, no one knows he invented that combo, but people think Robert Boyajian did, but Robert Boyajian learned it from Jerry Williams, and I told Jerry Williams about that combo.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things, like, we held stuff back. Like, we want to win with it. This guy was freely giving up knowledge, which And he's still like he still finished way above people,
Mhm.
but I don't know how often he was giving it to maybe randoms
Mhm.
after that. But I remember, so he posted the Magician Shark combo, and I beat him. We played YCS Toronto that year,
Mhm.
and I beat him with that combo. I'm like, man, you shouldn't have posted this combo. That's all I'm thinking in my mind. I'm like, I'm opening Magician Shark, and normally I'd probably end on this mediocre board.
Mhm.
Now you're dead because you posted this combo last week.
Yeah.
And it's part of the, like, did you want to be the first to post it, or is it just he
Mhm.
was making a name for himself at the community at the
Mhm.
time? He wasn't the legend of Patrick Hoban that we know now.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things, like, as the best teams in the past, we kept stuff hidden. Like, people don't even remember the era of Overdose burn. So there was a deck list. They only announced top 8 deck lists, and Overdose had this burn deck that they were playing, and it was an amazing burn deck. It was consistent, but it never made it over the hump. But it was kind of like a guaranteed top 8, top 16 in a Shonen Jump,
Mhm.
and they didn't post it. And that's kind of like how competitive play was in the past. You kept all your secrets to yourself.
Mhm.
We were never on Discord now talking about multiples of plays and certain scenarios. We just, you know what, like the Infernity deck, like we kept a lot of that under wrap, even though it was an OCG thing.
Mhm.
Like, we had one of the better builds, like the 100 eyes combo. That's something we started. So it's just we held it, like we kept as many things hidden, but now the
Mhm.
game has changed, and people put it out there.
Yep.
But yeah, it's just it's yeah. I think we're sorry. I'll ramble on, but this is coming from me going to play again. Can I pick up the game? Will I play future events? I'm in my early. I'm still gonna say early 30s, but yeah, you'll probably see me at an event here or there. Like, the only problem is I'll go to the event and I know like 8 people. And before, I used to hang out with like everybody. I know maybe 10 people. Let's say 10.
Mhm.
And 2 of them are usually like, it's Billy and Robbie, but
Mhm.
they're behind the counter. They're behind the curtain talking, and like I'll never get to catch up with them.
Yeah.
And I saw you at one event for like a very short time,
Mhm.
and it's just one of those things that I'm sitting at an event and I'm like, I don't know anyone here anymore, and
Yeah.
it's no longer fun for me.
Yeah.
So
That's fair.
for everybody that is playing, like, appreciate this time,
Mhm.
because you will look back and you will miss it. And it is one of the best. It was one of the best times of my life. It was so carefree. It was like, what are we doing next week? What's our deck next week? What
Mhm.
what do you want to go to this locals? What fun deck should we play at this locals?
Mhm.
There's a regionals coming up. I'm gonna play Chainburn.
Mhm.
Matt's gonna play his like 20 trap deck. Or Matt randomly played a Shonen Jump, playing a Highlander deck,
Mhm.
except playing triple Sakuretsu, and he topped. Like, it was fun stuff. Like, I would go to Jason Gabermeyer, and tell him, hey, I'm running an Insect Fiend Spellcaster deck. Feature me. So he's like, are you really? And he didn't screen me. He didn't screen my deck list. He's like, if you are, I will give you a feature match. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, and there was zombies in it too. So I'm like, spellcaster, fiend, zombie, insect deck.
Mhm.
He's like, you got the round 1 feature match if that's it.
Mhm.
Do you know what I'm talking about here or no?
No, I actually don't.
Okay,
I'm trying.
so I actually play this. My round 1, I start playing. Jason's like, what the hell? You told me you were playing because I show my deck before I start.
Yeah.
And then he goes, I thought you were playing this innovative deck. I'm like, yeah, zombies, insect, spellcaster, fiend. I'm playing Infernity.
Oh,
So
I
he's
see.
just like, so now he's like, I'm gonna screen the deck list. I'm gonna screen your deck list every time. Or
Oh,
maybe he thought that after, but I
yeah.
told him, I'm like, yeah, this is what I'm running. He's like, all right, I'll give you a feature match. I don't know if he remembers it, but he gave me a feature match. I showed him. He's like,
Mhm.
wow, wow. But yeah, it was just I had fun, man. And right now I'm still heavily into Go format.
Mhm.
I would play, honestly, I would play any legacy format right now.
Yep.
during my time and commit to that if it had a player base, but there's absolutely zero, not zero, but very, very small player base to any of the other formats that I did well in.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, GOAT format was not one of my better formats
Mhm.
at the time. I'm with knowledge back to GOAT format is very good. I'm like Chris says, he feels like he's the best GOAT format player
Mhm.
there. I'm willing
Mhm.
to test not bad stuff, but like I'm willing to. I'm more open minded when it comes to that.
Yep.
And yeah, you can catch me. There's a GOAT format World Championship
Mhm.
on October 24th. It's a Saturday. It's going to be streamed, and it's just all the best GOAT format players. It's high level GOAT format stuff.
Mhm.
And it's something to definitely look at. Like if people want to watch it, it's going to be streamed. There's a very big GOAT format community. There's a GOAT format Discord that I'm consistently on. There's a lot of like, luxury gaming
Mhm.
and the online tournaments or the online money matches that these guys run. And yeah, I'm heavily part of that, heavily invested because it's the only thing I could still do from home.
Yeah, when I was playing during GOAT format, I was still like relatively green to the game, so I was a complete noob. I didn't really know how GOAT format worked, and my local didn't really play GOAT format. There's like one guy or like two guys that would play GOAT format, and now that I'm competent, actually a good player. Like went back and played some GOAT format. I really love it, and I think I'm pretty skilled at it. So I'm really wondering sometime I gotta test my skill against you and Chris because I never really got to play GOAT format against you during that time because first time we played was like the Kochi Monarchs was like the thing around that time. Like your brother made like triple spies at that point in time, I think with Monarchs, and like Ryza just came out. That was the first time we
Yeah,
ever played each other.
yeah. I remember we were playing, but at the time, um, we were shifting to the zombie. One of my favorite decks of all time was the Card of Safe Return zombie deck,
Yep, I
and
remember
that
that
was
quite
that was
well.
very simple. I remember like open like that's before Zombie Master got errated. Like Card of Safe Return, Zombie Master, and Pyramid Turtle and Creature Swap. Like I would have such nutty stuff, and at the time we were the only ones with prize cards, or I had Crush card, so I had like that upper hand at locals, and I don't know, unfair, but I'll take it.
Yeah, because like, there's so many ways to like summon from the graveyard. The zombie master, like you didn't need a zombie in the graveyard to activate it, which was ridiculous at the time when that
Yeah,
ruling came out. And then we had triple book of life too on top of that as well to just keep that going. And it was just crazy seeing plays go zombie master, zombie master, zombie master, like draw, draw, draw. And like you wouldn't play just one copy, you played two, three copies, and that deck was insane. And I remember like the regional before like Zombie Master came out, like I remember Shen and you guys were like asking everybody around, it's like you got any cards to save returns. Like I remember that day quite
yeah,
vividly.
we did the same thing. Like Chris was talking about test tigers in his video.
Yep.
We did the same with so many different cards. We did the
Mhm.
same with card of safe returns.
Mhm.
I can't even remember, but there was a lot of stuff that we like stocked up on, and we're like, this is gonna be it, and this is how we kind of bank. Like I tried not to invest that much money after into the game,
Mhm.
and I just did it through trades, and it's just getting ahead of the curve, picking up card of safe return when it's a 50-cent card, it becoming a $30 card and banned forever.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's a little bit of foresight and being able to predict the metagame and make and dictate the metagame really.
Mm-hmm. I think your brother was a really great innovator and like had a lot of foresight into making a lot of decks. He was really creative, especially when we play like local levels. He would just like that would be like his great testing grounds, and then like you would kind of bring that into like bigger events. Like for example, when we went to Columbus, when you decided to join Overdose, like you guys teched Destiny Hero Doomlord as part of the as because like Destiny Heroes were like and Dark Arm Return was like all over the place, and you
Yeah,
guys like OD used like Doomlord to kind of like help clear the board.
yeah. People don't remember, but like Joomlord actually eventually made its way out.
Mm-hmm.
But we invented decks like Teledad. Like we had a lot of stuff that we were the first, like the innovators of, and a lot of it is on Lazaro. And honestly, Lazaro and
Mm-hmm.
Shane Scurry were deck builders, the deck builders, and we would bounce stuff off each other. And if you notice, a lot of the times, but even before we were teammates, the Super Friends deck profile would be there, but Paul Leviton is part of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just we've been collabing for a long time, and Lazaro has a lot of decks under his name, which is also piggybacked into being on the Super Friends Card Masters Overdose name, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's that kind of collaboration, which really I don't want to say put you over the top per se, but it really just helped you guys consistently just top a lot of events and just bring home several championships, because Lazaro was just way ahead of his time on any other player. I dreaded having to play against you or your brother, because I'm thinking how many plays ahead are the guys thinking? I had so much confidence playing against the next player if I played in Toronto, but anytime I go against your team, it's what's going to happen here? Because these guys are on a completely different level. I'm I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to beat any of these guys whatsoever. And I'll be able to chip away at a couple guys here and there, but you and Lazaro specifically, and Matt Peddle too, would just drive me up the wall, and just being able to trying to beat, because I couldn't beat any of you guys except for you the one time. That was it.
All good. Yeah, Matt, we honestly, we played a lot and we loved the game. That was the biggest thing, and we were good friends. We were best friends. I was part of Matt's wedding. Irvin, one of my best friends from this game too, is we're friends for life, right? We every holiday outside of this year because of COVID-19.
Yep.
If you're on my Facebook or my Instagram, I will post a group picture and we're always together. I will play sports leagues, we play together, and just friends for life, right? And that's something that is my favorite thing about this game. Credentials or not, or top finishes or not, it's these guys that will be there for the rest of my life. Matt lives down the street from me.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah, we're almost neighbors, right? So
yeah.
But and the other Overdose teammates, I talk to them fairly regularly. I talk to Paul regularly. He's big into fitness. I'd like to say I'm trying to get into fitness, but he's doing well. Chris, I talk to pretty often about Go format. He's this he has so much Go format love, and it's deserved. And the fact that he's willing to share stuff with me and still look at me as a teammate way beyond our competitive days is amazing.
And I love Chris, man. I think he's one of the smartest players to ever play this game, man. And I respect his intellect a lot in this game, and I know he's not an easy person to take down.
Oh, for sure. Probably one of the, if not more arrogant players than myself, but I love him. I love Chris.
Yeah.
I love all the guys I've ever collabed with, and I have much love for you too. So many people in Yu-Gi-Oh! I will remember, I'll run into random people on the street, and I'm like, man, I miss you. I haven't talked to you in so long. Yesterday, I messaged Jay-Cho, and just to see what was up with him, because I haven't talked to him in a while. And I talked to Marcus Crease fairly often, James Kim,
Yep.
The Yu-Gi-Oh community is, I know there's a lot of bad there. A lot of people say there's a lot of bad, but it's the good has heavily outweighed it, and
exactly that.
It's what it is. It's what it is. It's you have to accept for, you know what? Like Chris was saying, have I seen the bad in the community? Have I experienced the bad? Maybe not so much, but it's just if we were that age, we would probably be in on it, which we were during that time. And it's just a generational thing where just accept it. It's what it is. It's we've lived through it because we were part of it, right?
Yep. That we definitely have. I mean, there's bound to be a bad apple or several bad apples in and in any little event, clique, or hobby that you go to, Ben. But there's always the good that typically overshadows that, and I'm pretty sure Yu-Gi-Oh is definitely one of those things. Again, my best friend who he is, and we've been best friends for 12 years now, and he doesn't play Yu-Gi-Oh anymore, but still, like, we've retained the friendship. I'm pretty sure you have like similar experiences with that too, because I know like a lot of your Team Super Friends don't really play anymore. Like Irvin's like got married and whatnot. He stopped playing. Like Walter stopped playing and whatnot. I haven't heard of Tanuki in like God knows how long. But like just names like that, because I know you guys are really close all of a sudden. But like that friendship still stays along. But regardless of like how long you've been out of the game for.
Yeah. If my sound sounds different right now, my headphones just died, so I switched to the regular speaker.
Yep. Yeah. I just heard the sound kind of go differently. That's all right. I can still hear you well.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, it's all about friends. I still see everyone that you mentioned, or most of the guys that you mentioned regularly, like very, very regularly. And I that my message to the Yu-Gi-Oh players now is cherish the friends that you made and stay in contact, because you're not gonna find better friends after.
It's really hard too, because definitely my closest friends are for sure we're built off of Yu-Gi-Oh. I mean, I have a Yu-Gi-Oh team, but I'm the only one that's left on my team. But I'm still like really close with a couple of my teammates, like Ralph Manahan, like Matt Bergeron, like and Alan Lai. Like I'm still close to all of them. Like I still talk to them like now and again. But like again, like we're like big brothers. Like when we're all together, and like we always go to have a nice meal together. And I'm pretty sure yours is like the same way. Maybe on an even bigger, deeper level, because you're proximity wise, you're a little bit closer to them as opposed to them. I'm a couple hours away from all of them.
Yeah, I mean they're family. Like we're family, and I know you feel the same way. You guys are family, and a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh people will feel like that. Like a random day, I'll just be like, hey, you want to come over for dinner? Like we've got to that level, which is not something I would have imagined when we were like Yu-Gi-Oh players back, just going to locals, right?
Yep.
It's funny to be like, hey Matt, like, yeah, if you want me to babysit your kid, I could, type of thing. Like it's that, like, oh, I'm leaving for this time. You mind house sitting, type of thing. Like it's just progressed through the years, and it's so nice.
Yeah.
Like if I could just put anything on it, it's nice. It's so nice.
It really is, and just to add on top of that too, like I 3 years ago, like Bo Tang got married, and I never expected that he would invite me to his wedding, but he did, and like I was in shock and awe, and I was completely honored to, because like Bo and I were always good together. We never hung out with each other outside of regionals, but we were always like really good and really tight with each other when we saw each other. So when he extended that invite to me, I'm like 100% yes, I'm going to that wedding, and it's just things like that. It just kind of like catch you by surprise that that you can establish these kinds of friendships like in and out of it, even though you just see them just at regionals or whatnot, but you can still have that long bonding friendships. I mean, you and I have only hung out once outside of Yu-Gi-Oh, and that was because before we were playing a Card Masters tournament, we came up early from Peterborough, and you invited me to play basketball with the rest of your crew, and that was pretty much our one hangout with it. But it's just the little things like that, you that you just remember and cherish for like the rest of your life. Like I won't forget that basketball game ever.
Oh no, I love that. And then like I remember, just like I'm like, oh, Bowie's performing at Anime North. Let's watch it. Like,
Yeah,
dude, you're awesome. The community, the Yu-Gi-Oh, the Toronto community, more so has this love for you that I don't know if you, but this residual love that you will be etched in all of our memories forever, and you will always come up in conversation. Good, always good. Don't worry.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you're awesome. You were awesome. And
I appreciate that.
You come to Toronto, dinner's on me. Just make it down to Toronto.
Yes, sir. I mean, it's not too far off, and hopefully, when everything clears up a little bit and we can kind of like wander around a little bit more, that I definitely want to do that with you. I mean, I'm just trying to set up a date with Bo Tang too to do that as well. So I gotta put you down on that list, and we'll definitely go and have a good time, man, for sure. And like maybe I'll come down, like I can be a sub for you someday for like a baseball team if you need it, because I know I've seen you on dodgeball, I've seen you with baseball, I've seen you on basketball, like play a lot with like the rest of all like a lot of your Yu-Gi-Oh friends that still play, like Patrick Tring, for example. Like I've heard that name in a long time, but I know he's kind of around there too with you guys.
Yeah, like we play, like me and Lazaro play a lot of basketball right now. It's just one of those things, like we still have this super competitive edge. Obviously, we're not playing for the Olympics or the NBA, but
yeah,
we try to win. We win championships in our basketball leagues, and it's fun, and we just don't like to lose type of thing. Hyper competitive people,
Yep.
and yeah, it's just it's done well for us in life type of thing, right? So
It really has. So what's Lazaro been doing nowadays? Because I know that he stopped for a long time and he didn't really come back into the game, unlike you that you did, and you've got a couple tops on that too. So what has he been doing?
so Lazaro is a chartered accountant now.
Mm-hmm.
So he's doing the grind. He's working. He's turning into a full-fledged adult if he already is. It's just
Yeah.
he has he loved Yu-Gi-Oh. He plays Go format here and then with me, and
Mm-hmm.
we'll talk about some stuff. But I think what has actually stopped, like, ended Yu-Gi-Oh for him is he's done it all. Like, when you talk about the goats in the game, like the greatest of all time, Lazaro is still mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Like Lazaro went to Worlds. Lazaro has won 4 times, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm forever in his shadow. Although I'm still up there. It's just I'm not the best, and I still feel like, you know what, I maybe I can go back out there and capture that other win and solidify my legacy anymore,
Mm-hmm.
or add to the legacy. But it's just one of those things that I'm still chasing the dream.
Mm-hmm.
I still love this game. I never sold any of my old collection. I have all my cards.
Nice.
I've never needed to, and that's just one of the things about being an adult, like career person, a career adult is now I'm a big kid. You know what I'm doing now?
Mm-hmm.
I have
No,
I'm buying every language of every print of Red Eyes Black Dragon
are
and
you?
get
Oh,
on my. So I will show you that picture when I'm done.
yeah.
So it's an adult with money, and my artwork on my walls are empty in my house,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't want to buy a stupid painting of a waterfall or of an ocean for
Mm-hmm.
art. I'm gonna put up some Yu-Gi-Oh stuff, some Yu-Gi-Oh shit in my house.
Yep.
This the nerd. It's not nerd stuff. It's passion, right?
Yep.
It's I am passionate about this game. I will love it. My friends who come over,
Mm-hmm.
it's funny. Like I work, right? Like at
Yep.
work, like I manage a bunch of people at work.
Mm-hmm.
Like I manage a successful sales team, and they'll come into my office sometimes, and they're like, "Are you looking at Yu-Gi-Oh cards?" I'm like, "Why? You know Yu-Gi-Oh?" And they're like, "Yeah, I play, or I used to play." And they're like, "Do you have a deck?" I'm like, "Oh, do I ever?" So one of my finance managers comes in and goes, um, he sees me one day on eBay. I'm buying stuff at work, right? Like I finish all my stuff for the day, and I'm looking. I'm trying to find like a good price. Okay, sorry. So let me elaborate on the frame I'm doing. I told you I'm collecting every print of Red Eyes.
Yes.
On that frame, I'm also collecting every print of Summon Skull, and I'm
Oh.
also collecting every print of and every language. This takes it's very difficult to do because it's hard to find all this stuff.
Yeah.
And every print of Red Eyes, no, Black Skull Dragon.
Oh,
So the
Black Skull
fusion.
Dragon. Okay. Yep.
So I'm trying to snipe, trying to find good prices. Like the Yu-Gi-Oh collector market is insane, so insane right now.
Mm-hmm.
And to try and find this stuff, like I have to snipe on eBay to try and get this stuff. And I don't want to admit it, but I'm on eBay and these Facebook groups more often than not,
Mm-hmm.
trying to find these things. And it's just putting it together, and I want to put it on my wall, and I feel like it's a cool art piece. So this guy comes in and he sees me. He's like, "Oh, Yu-Gi-Oh cards? Yeah." He's like, "I have do you still know how to play?" I'm like, "Maybe." So he's like, he brings his deck in, and it's the worst Chaos Dragon deck I've ever seen. And he's like, "Do you want to play?" I'm like, "Okay, I'll put a deck together." And I don't want to cheese him. I don't want to bring like a Zodiac deck, like wait like a few years ahead of his time, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So he's like, "Oh, I beat all my friends and We play often. So I'm like, all right. So I go upstairs. I have one of the perks of being an adult is I have this game room where I have like all my stuff out, and like I go dig and I put a Yu-Gi-Oh deck together around that era. So I put wind-ups together.
Mhm.
And let me tell you, I just wind-up shot his hand. He never saw that before. Hand looped him. And then I made a Shockmaster the next game.
Oh man.
So I was like, all right, if you want any more work, I'll give it to you. But
And
yeah,
how did he take that?
oh, it was a different level. And then I told him, I'm like, I'm gonna brag here. I earned it. I'm like, I'm still one of the best. I not still.
Yeah.
Historically, I am one of the best players to ever play the game.
Yeah.
And yeah, I showed him. He's like, no way. I go by my real name at work, right? So a lot of people know me as my family name. My family name is Dale.
Yep.
My family name is actually Deo. So
I
D-E-O.
completely forgot that for years, and I just remember now, and I'm pretty sure it's spelled D-E-O, if I recall correctly.
D-E-O. That's my family name, right? And
Yeah.
then and that's just like what everyone called me growing up. And then I had family friends that would call me it, but they always thought it was Dale.
Yeah.
D-A-L-E. So I'm like, you know what? That's an easier transition. And at the time, I didn't want to use my real name. I'm in high school, right? I didn't want to put my real name out there.
Yep.
And yeah, I didn't want to be like that guy, that nerd that went to go play Yu-Gi-Oh. Now I don't care. Now I love it. Now I embrace this culture.
Yeah.
But yeah, I went by Dale, and Dale stuck. And yeah, I showed him, and he's like, "You're not. That has the same last name. That's not your first name."
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to go find feature matches and videos, and he's like, "Oh, wow, that is you." And a lot of people, you'll be surprised if you're willing to talk about it. A lot of people out there played Yu-Gi-Oh, and it's no longer nerdy. When you're 20-year-old, 25-year-olds, 30-year-olds, no one cares, man. It's just people talk about the good times, and it's awesome.
Yeah, I can relate to you on that one because when I was playing in high school, because I think I'm like a year younger than you. I was born in '87. I think you were '86.
86, yeah.
Yeah, so when I was playing in high school, I would always play like out in the halls on the benches, and I would get made fun of a lot for it now. But nowadays, if I ever say it to anybody, that's like, "Oh, it's cool," and then I tell them about all the experiences I've had with it, and I've made some money with this game as well, and
Yeah.
people don't even like think twice about teasing about anyone who plays the game again. It's completely like lost the stigma in my mind, at least for young adults at this point in time for playing the game.
Yeah, for sure. For me, it lost it a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I always freely talk about it. And part of it was like, hey, I'm one of the best to play this game. And when people would make fun of it, I'm like, are you ever this good at anything you do in your life?
Yeah.
No. Be quiet. Sit down.
Yeah.
Right? It's just one of those things. And it's passion. We're passionate about it. We love it.
It is.
Fun. And anyone who's listening to this video probably loves the game just as much as I do, and just embrace it, because you'll never, if you're hiding this, you're lying to yourself.
Definitely that, because I had a group of friends in high school who would never talk about it, never mention it, never bring their cards ever. So I never got to play with them. So I had to play with like other people's, and they would always hide it. But I was always happy to play this game, and I would never hide it one bit. Now, I would never like publicly broadcast it if I'm meeting new people, but at the same time, if I was ever asked about it, I would never deny it at all.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Like for me, I used to go sneak. Like honestly, like I would go to the library. Not my library. I would walk with my friends who were like other like popular kids in high school, and just play in a library 15 minutes away on our lunch break, which is only like 45 minutes, get one game in, and then have to walk back.
Yep.
Eventually it coming full circle and like openly talking about it in university and in college, and just it's just people remember the good times, and people no longer care about it being nerdy.
It really isn't. And then when people find out about how actually difficult it really is to get into the game, like to to play this game and be really well at it, like especially to like the normal person, because they're thinking this is just another like I know it's a funny little joke we always make, but they always call it the children's card game. But then when you actually like analyze and like look at how this game is played, it's severely complex. And like even if you took away like the kiddie part of it, like learning how to like play this game and like professionally is a difficult job in itself. And people, and the outsiders just don't really understand like how hard it is to really dive deep in this game, and how much thought process and intelligence you need to be able to play this game.
Exactly. Like for me, my problem for teaching new people how to play is like I'm so like my thought process is so advanced that I'm like, how do you not understand this basic concept of the game? Like
Mm-hmm.
I'll get frustrated and I will give up on
Yep.
teaching something because I feel like to me it's simple and to you it's simple and to a lot of the people that are probably listening it's simple to us now.
Mm-hmm.
But like the people that talk down on this game don't do, maybe in other things in their life they do stuff that complicated, but they just don't appreciate the advanced thinking that's part of this game, right? We don't play it because hey, this picture is cool and I like dragons and I like magicians and stuff. No, we play it because it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and it's competitive. It's there's thought that goes into this. There's a lot of analytics that go into this.
Mm-hmm.
It's more than a children's card game. It hasn't been a children's card game since the very, very beginning.
Yeah, like because this game to me is so intellectually engaging. That's what I like to think of it as, because it challenges a lot of like my creativity, my intelligence, my ability for foresight. And that was one of the things I was kind of scared with playing against you and Lazaro, was the amount of foresight that you guys had in playing the game. Like you could almost, like Lazaro could like almost read like every single one of my moves every time I played him, and he would just crush me handily. I think I've only gotten one game on him, just like a game, never a match. And that was just the thing. But that's what I love about Yu-Gi-Oh is how much it really gets you going, like how much it challenges you, how much it makes you think, and like the amount of intelligence and thought process that goes into this game is a big reason why like I haven't stopped since I started.
Yeah, and same, right? It's part of the reason why, similar to what Chris says, is you know what, when work is tough and things aren't going your way, I go back, I'll run a game of Go format, and I'll beat people, and I'll be like, oh yeah, you know what, I'm actually really good at something, and this will catapult me or serve as a launch pad for that day,
Mm-hmm.
that or get me out of my rut, and be like, you know what, you're on your head, you're in your own head.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I kind of do the same thing, because of, like before I kind of have like writer's block when I'm trying to write down my articles. Sometimes I just grab my Yu-Gi-Oh deck and I'd solitaire with myself and just build combos with it, and then my brain starts to go, and then I can write away now for like the next several hours and without skipping a beat.
Yeah, it's engaging, right? Exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, and exactly that. And like I'm having too much trouble to drop this game. Like I think the only two times I'm gonna drop this game is when one, I'm no longer having fun with it, and two, if I just have no more time for it. But right now, like even though like I'm also adulting as well, like I have a career as well and everything like that, but I still can put aside time to be able to play Yu-Gi-Oh, and I'm glad that I can do that. But I don't have a child yet, and that's going to be something I'd like to have in the near future. So things can change. But I know like that we have several friends and players that have had children, and they'll be able to play this game and be competitive in it as well.
Yeah, and let me tell you, Bowie, and we probably share, we have similarities here, is how much we have the love for the game. Is I tell you, you will never, if you feel like you got bored of the game, you will find something that makes you love the game.
Mm-hmm.
You will always make time for it, just like I do.
Yeah, and friends is one thing.
Yeah, like for me, none of my close friends play, right?
Yep.
But I'm still friends with I love the Toronto Yu-Gi-Oh community, especially like obviously the Game Nation guys, and I'm kind of embraced into this like Godfather Yu-Gi-Oh, Godfather of Toronto Yu-Gi-Oh type of role, where these guys show me this so much love and respect that I wouldn't ever thought that I've earned, but even the guys like Sam, for example, Thrift, these guys that are massive YouTubers will always say, "What's up?" If I shoot them a message, they'll respond to me. And Jesse, as busy this guy is, I'll ask him when a new ban list comes. Like I'm so familiar with ban lists. Part of it is I sit on a collection, and I'm like, oh, if this gets unbanned, I could probably make some money. But like I'll talk to him and he'll tell me, like he'll give me his deck for an event, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not now, maybe because he's on this Patreon. He has this Patreon thing. Maybe not. We're buddies, but yeah, it's just I love the Yu-Gi-Oh community. They always show me love. Even some people in the States too. Like out of nowhere, Triff sent me a message. He's like, "Oh yeah, my video is top 50 Yu-Gi-Oh players. I want to know their top something deck choices." I'm like, I have no idea what any is this now. He's like, "Whatever, just say what you're playing. You're playing Gold format, right?" So I gave him Gold format top 5 list.
Yeah, that was also part of that video as well. He asked me the very same thing as well. So it was really nice. So yeah, so and like you and I, like we've just had a long history with each other too. Like we've seen each other kind of grow. Of course, like you've grown like as a different ceiling than I have. You know, like and you've been surrounded by like a lot of top tier players. Like where I'm in like in a very small city, it's a little bit harder to get better with a small city with like a smaller pool. So, but like nonetheless, we've kind of seen each other grow and evolve, and just get better. And then like we've built a friendship from this as well. So and then that's like one of the greatest things about this game is it's just the friendships you develop with everybody and just kind of seeing everybody evolve, like and not just like as a player, but also as a person as well, like and as they grow through their life as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of skills that people probably don't notice that translate into their everyday lives, like the social skills you develop from this game and the confidence that you develop in this game is something that's very hard to attain in normal academics, right? Like to get confident at something, you have to be an expert or you have to be really good. And it's most people in that field. Let's say they take that field in school, they get there, right? But you learn it because you've hit that peak. But here in Yu-Gi-Oh, like you pick up the confidence from just doing well at locals, doing well at competition. Like a lot of people will maybe need to pick it up in sports, but that's hard to do. Like at Yu-Gi-Oh, it's very simple, and you learn these skills that can't be taught, right? You learn the soft skills, you learn the interpersonal skills where you know how to talk to people, you know how to make friends, you know how to and growing up you become very accepting of things that you weren't, and you mature, and a lot of people don't notice, but they're maturing in front of their own eyes to become better people, better adults.
And 100% on that, because every time you'd go to like a regional or like a Shonen Jump Championship or YCS, whatever, you guaranteed you're not going to play somebody. You're going to play somebody that you never heard of or never met in your life. And this is a person you have to interact with. So you're gonna have to play a game with them for the very first time, and you have to talk, you have to socialize a little bit, and kind of like and interact with them. And that's kind of like a thing with like daily life, at least for my job anyway, because I have to talk to I have to interview a whole bunch of people that I've never even met before, but I've got to learn how to be able to talk to like strangers over the phone. And a lot of people don't like talking over the phone to begin with, for that matter. So it definitely does develop a lot of these soft skills, as you said. And again, like this game does a lot more for people than what they think. It's not just a game. You're also learning a whole whack of things that are just really useful for day-to-day life as well.
Yeah, like it even comes down to trading, right? Right? You learn how to negotiate. In the future, you will eventually negotiate a pay raise.
Yes.
You will eventually
correct.
You'll eventually try to sell yourself in an interview for a big job that you wanted. Right? Exactly how you would sell yourself to your friends, right? How you make new friends, how you would sell certain positions in games and bluff and you know what, fake it till you make it type of stuff, right? And yeah, there's so many things that if you look at, the game has made many people a better person.
Yeah. That I can believe, because like anytime I interact with you, like I don't think I've ever seen you like unconfident or like shaken when you play this game. Like I know you're always like brimming with confidence, and I think you're you're believing yourself, in other words, with
Yeah.
this game. Like, I'm definitely doubted myself a couple times in this game before, and I don't know, maybe you have during, even like at your peak moments, but at the same time, I've always like noticed that you and Lazaro like are always like chill, relax, and like easygoing, because like you kind of have like, yeah, I kind of got this in the bag, where like I know I'm good enough to be able to like put up a good fight against, no matter against who I play.
Yeah, and it's just like me and Lazaro have very different personalities
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to the Yu-Gi-Oh community.
Yes.
It's because he's the very reserved one.
Yep.
Lazaro is, if you speak to, if you know Lazaro, Lazaro is a chatterbox, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Lazaro's not one to willingly go out there and like. For me, I'm doing it because I'm more so doing it and getting myself out there because I need trades, right?
Yep.
And that's to me that's a big part of the game. Like I got into sales and I moved up very quickly, and it's a lot of that, and a lot of that is attributed to selling myself to people on trades
Mm-hmm.
and selling value and understanding how to negotiate. And like I knew from all I knew very early in life that being able to sell anything is a very high paying skill.
It
it,
really is.
and it's just, you know what, I'm like, I will use this and I will see what I could catapult it into. And yeah, I'm very thankful for everything this game has brought to me,
Mm-hmm.
and the skills that it's given me in life and the confidence that it's given me in life.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely that, and like I'm sure like everyone can just kind of reflect on and see, after playing this game for like maybe like several years or just even a year or two, just kind of notice the differences in themselves that they've made throughout it. Because again, like when I hate reading, first of all, for one thing. Like,
Yeah,
I'm not a big reader, even though I'm like a philosophy major. I'm supposed to read like crazy, but
yeah,
like Yu-Gi-Oh would make me read, and then I would like read all these words, and I would learn more vocabulary in my language now, so I could start using a little more advanced words. Because Yu-Gi-Oh kind of has that its own vernacular kind of thing, its own
yeah,
dialect and whatnot. And then I kind of learned a little bit more from that. And a lot of monsters are from like can be from like mythology. They could be from like ancient, like funny creatures, that non-existent mythical creatures and whatnot. But you kind of learn a little bit more about that as you go along. That's what the game kind of does. Like, everyone knows, like, at this point in time, like a Cerberus is like a fire-breathing three-headed dog, for example. And maybe not everybody would know that, but because it's in Yu-Gi-Oh, we know what a Cerberus is, just as an example.
yeah. And like a kaiju, for example, like a kaiju is like one of those like Japanese monsters, right?
Yep.
It's a like a Godzilla type of, in the Godzilla universe. And then there's yeah, there's a lot, there's a lot, and it's lore, right? You learn about lore, you learn, you divulge into history of other things.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the thing that I want people to know is, you played this game, you never wasted your time, you always got something from it, even if you don't know that.
Mm-hmm.
You never wasted your time playing this game. And I don't want, I know people, maybe most people don't think that, but I know there's a small few that, oh, I wasted time doing this. None of this time was really wasted.
No, there's definitely a lot of knowledge and skills to gain from this. And I'm forever grateful for this game. It's changed my life for the better, like
Yeah,
100%. Like, I definitely had some rocky moments with the game. I'm sure everyone has, who's played it as long
I,
as we have. But nonetheless, like, I couldn't imagine my life right now if I didn't have Yu-Gi-Oh in my life.
for sure, 100% for sure.
Yeah, and again, I'm glad I got into it, and I've never looked back since. I'm like, I'm glad I got to play. I'm glad I played this game, and I don't know when I'm gonna stop. I don't know
Oh,
when.
honestly, I hope it never does, right? I hope, like, even when you have a kid in the future, Botang has a child, and Botang still played that remote duel tournament. Like, Botang
Yep.
loves this game, and you will make time. Botang is a engineer, right? And
Yes.
he's very busy, but makes time. Chris is also an engineer, very busy,
Mhm.
makes time for Go format. Um, Messages me if I want to play test type of thing. Like, he's still looking out for me type of thing, where he just still wants to stay competitive. And if you love the game, you will always find a way back.
Yeah, I agree with that, and it's not just Yu-Gi-Oh in my mind. In my mind, it's always, if you have a passion for something, regardless of how busy your life gets, you will always find a way or find time to get yourself back into it. Like there's, of course, hiatuses, and sometimes you just can't get around to it. But eventually, some ways, shape, or form, you'll always find a way to get back to it if you have the passion.
For sure. Like even now, like we've been running this podcast for quite some time, and as it's coming to an end, I even feel a little sad that we don't like. I have so much more to talk about, and I know you have so much more to talk about, but we can only fit into a small user-friendly amount of or listener-friendly amount of time. And it's yeah, I would definitely, I would even want to start something and have you on. Not saying I'm going to, again, just I don't have time to do so. But like, even I watch this. I don't know if you care if I plug other stuff. Like, I don't even know who these guys are.
No, go right ahead. Anyone can plug whatever here.
There's this YouTube channel called Magnitude Gaming that talks about the very early Shonen Jumps, and this is like during my era. And he's doing a great job, but I'm like, if I did this, I have so much insight for the first 10 years of competitive, not 10 years. So let's say competitive play started in 2004. So let's say the first 7, 8 years, I have so much insight. Like I'm this Yu-Gi-Oh historian about competitive play during this time. And I that is my passion project. That will always be just the passion project and just the thought in my mind that I want to do this, but I don't know if I have the time, and I know I could do it well. And if I would rather backpack on somebody else's ride, and just be like, you know what, here's some info that you could use for this, or if you want me to talk on it, I'll talk on it.
Yeah, I just actually watched their latest video earlier today. Actually, when I was at work, like it was every Shonen Jump champion, YCS like champion, and it has history of Yu-Gi-Oh. Saw your face, of course, down there. Then I was like, yeah, that's a huge blast from the past, and it really brought me back to that world of nostalgia. Back when I was like 17 years old, like playing this game and trying to get into the pro circuit.
Yeah, and like if it's like I'm no longer part of the competitive, like current competitive play, but heavily into the GOAT format community, and I still do videos regularly with Scully. So Nick Palmero was their YCS Shonen Jump mainstay back in the day, and like Chris Provic is obviously part of the community. And there's a lot of high level GOAT format players, and I do videos still, like to this day. On like I'll talk on someone's video, or I'll start the video. It's just I feel like I want to give more to the game.
I mean, this game's done so much for us, so like it's kind of a natural feeling to want to kind of give back to the game in some way, shape, or form. And I guess this is kind of our ways of doing it. Like I've got the podcast, you've got your all the video appearances you make with GOAT format and all the contributions you make in that sense. And again, like you've been around the block like many times before, so you really could be a historian of this game, because you said a lot of things today there that I didn't even know of in history, and I've played this game for a very long time myself.
Yeah, I will never say no to like a video appearance to anybody type of thing. Just one of those things like I enjoy, I love. I will do it till the end. Anyone wants to talk about it? If you decide that you want to have a part 2, a part 3, a part 4, I am all for it.
We'll definitely do that for sure, because I know there's like a whole ton more we could have definitely talked about here, but don't want to keep it too long. But for sure, we got to have you back sometime, and we'll keep going along, because again, like you and I have a big history together. We've played this game a long time, and like we've been at each other for quite some time too as we played this game. So we've seen each other. So again, I'll definitely have you back for sure. I'm sure we could go on for another like 2-3 hours easily if we really wanted to.
Yeah, hey, this was only like 4 years of Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah,
and between me and you, we probably know the Toronto competitive, not even Toronto, the Canadian competitive scene through its entirety.
Yes,
like
absolutely.
I know the first half, and you know the second half, and I don't know. Maybe that's something we can collab on in the future.
That's definitely something I would love to talk about once we get further into things. Yeah, definitely love to do that, and that'd be fantastic, because I know that I've done a lot of events out in like the Quebec area as well, and I know that kind of influenced them to kind of migrate to Toronto for a bit for their events, because I know that I was this random scrub who couldn't like top or even do well, like decent at a Toronto like regional. All of a sudden, I go over there, I win their regionals, and then all of a sudden they get a little upset and they just want to come back to Toronto regionals and try to like take on. And there's like a little bit of turf war in between, and that's like a big story that we could like save for later on. But yeah, I remember that happening.
Man, you're scratching the surface on so many things we like. It's so crazy that we missed way more than we talked about. Obviously, I was rambling on for like the first bit, but like we missed a huge chunk of Yu-Gi-Oh history that I'm sure there's an audience for. I don't know if anyone's told you, but you have like one of the most beautiful broadcasting or recording voices.
Yes.
My God,
I really appreciate that. And yeah, Matt Peddle told me that too on one of my Facebook posts. Yeah,
it's one of those like, you know, when I hear myself and after videos, I almost cringe a bit.
Yep.
But I hear your voice and I'm like, man, I would love to hear my voice if I sounded like this.
It goes a long way, and you know, this is like how I speak in real life to everybody else. I always have that like kind of strong, booming voice.
I've never met and are listening to this. This is exactly how you talk in real life.
Yeah,
and
it really is.
The bravado in your voice, and ooh, my God.
Maybe that's why I'm a journalist and a sports broadcaster, because it's that my voice is meant for this kind of thing.
Yeah, you should be talking for the rest of your life, my friend.
It is one of my greatest weapons is being able to speak. So yeah, that's why I decided to take up journalism and broadcasting, because I know that it was you know, me being able to perform and just talk in front of people is one of my greatest strengths. So yeah, I think I chose the right career path in my mind.
It's in it for you, buddy. You're killing it.
I definitely will, and I know that you've got a lot of charisma in yourself, because we've always been able to have like great conversations whenever we see each other at regionals. So you being in sales and whatnot and doing some wheeling and dealing, yeah, that doesn't surprise me one bit, and I'm glad that that's doing really well for you, because I haven't been able to catch up with you at least on a personal level in a while.
Hey, when COVID-19 is all said and done, because I'm sure it will be, we got to kick it, and yeah. This was a great time. I loved it. Thank you so much.
Hey, man, I really appreciate you coming on, man. And we'll have you back for a part 2 down the road, man. I'll look forward to that as well.
Yeah, let me throw a few quick shout outs before I go.
Yep, go right ahead.
Number one shout out, obviously, to you. You are doing a phenomenal job. You have a Patreon going?
I do have a Patreon, yes. I have no Patreons on it yet, though.
No, don't worry about it. It will come.
Yep.
You are doing a great job. I love it. I listen to more. It's tough to get time to listen to, and I'm obviously listening to the guys that I know.
Yep.
But it was an amazing time. To all the listeners that do decide to stay here for this long journey of my own Yu-Gi-Oh career, and the small history of what we have. Thank you for listening. I'm not really this arrogant anymore, but it's just I love this game, and it's just what is bleeding out when I talk about it. Another shout out to my fiance Daniela for always putting up with all the Yu-Gi-Oh that I'm still getting. Like I work so many hours, and then I'll come and I'll tell her I want to play some GOAT format money matches. Sorry, or I'm gonna do this podcast, and when you come down, I hope you meet her.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to.
It's awesome. We'll go grab a bite together, and yeah, and then after that, GoFormat.com. There's it's this massive community, and it's very inviting in the beginning. Well, not even in the beginning. It's inviting as a whole, where you can get in if you're new to Go Format, or everyone who plays Yu-Gi-Oh now knows what Go Format is. It's this heralded, most skillful format of all time. I don't honestly. I'll tell you the truth. I don't think it's the most skillful format of all time, but it's up there. It's the most played format, most played legacy format, and yeah, get into it. There's a world championship this month, and I assume it's something that we will run yearly. And yeah, they have these free tournaments that you can play and you qualify, and then there's a cash prize for this world championship. And right now, anyone who has ever topped during the GOAT format era has a free invite. I don't know if you've been reached out to. I know this is coming in a little late, and you would probably have to listen to 2 hours of this podcast to hear this. But you have an invite to this tournament, please play. We want as many people to play. If not, it's going to be streamed. Check out the GoFormat.com YouTube channel. I'm there fairly often. I do a lot of I do the small segment, which is only one match, unfortunately, because I can't get the time to do it. Is me breaking down Go format plays and my train of thought, and some people say it's very insightful. There's a lot of information for new Go format players. Obviously, the new Go format players are competitive Yu-Gi-Oh players now, or people that maybe know a little bit about old Yu-Gi-Oh. Very easy to get back in. I do a few good content videos where I break down certain Go format plays and how I play this match and the thought process. Some people say it's very good info. I haven't seen many people say bad things. Maybe they won't post the bad things, but thank you for that. And I just want to do my quick shout outs to the rest of my old teammates of all time, my Card Masters guys, Marco Shurkin, John, Matt, Urban, Lazaro, Tanuki, Calvin, Kareem, Marcus, Jesse, my Game Nation guys, and Ray killing it. Trip is part of there. My Overdose guys, much love. I hope you're all doing well. You, Shane, Paul, Chris, and Rymus, Jerry, Sean, and the whole Yu-Gi-Oh community, Toronto Yu-Gi-Oh community. I love you all. If Bowie brings me on for round 2, I swear, I know I missed the... But you will get name shout-outs there, so make sure you bug Bowie to bring me on for number 2. And shout out to Daniela one more time. She made me dinner like 3 hours ago. She just texted me saying But yeah, I love it, Bowie. I hope we could do it again. If not this, maybe a different segment type of thing.
Yeah, well, I'll definitely do a collaboration with you for sure, man. If you want me to, man, and let me know if you need a commentator for the GOAT format, because I could definitely do that for you if that's needed.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe you could do a test run if you want.
Yeah, we'll definitely get on that soon.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, and we'll put the link below for anyone for goatformat.com. Great site. I just joined it recently myself, so great site to be on, and appreciate everyone who's given me a little bit of love there as well. And that is Dale Bellido, the first ever Canadian to win a Shonen Jump championship, the older brother of one of the most famous sibling duos of Yu-Gi-Oh! And he is a multiple Shonen Jump championship YCS topper, a great friend of mine, and possibly one of the best players ever to exist in this game. Dale, thank you so much for coming on to my podcast.
Thank you, Bowie. Love you, brother.
Love you, man. Yeah, man. Have a great night.
Stay safe. COVID's still out there. Even if you don't believe it, it's still out there.
All right, man. Have a great night, man.
See you, brother.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. For more information, check out the Gate Expectations podcast on YouTube, Facebook, Patreon, Twitter, and Spotify.